Hey Megan, we finally caught up to you. Now we're all on Zoom.
Yep.
You were just cooler than everybody else. How are things in your world?
They're good. Just busy working and that's about it. And school.
Yeah. Good. Well, that's good. I'm glad. All right, we are getting our quorum going here. Hey Julia, how are you?
Good. Actually, I went to the IU Purdue basketball game yesterday.
Oh, you did down in Bloomington. Or was it in West Lafayette?
It was in Bloomington.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we were like second row half court, which was insane.
Seriously. Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations. What a great, I don't even know who won. That's how out of it I
IU won in
was
a
it
big
even
upset.
close? Was it close?
It was pretty close, but Purdue was doing pretty bad.
Well, that is so cool. Thank you for reminding me. They usually, as I recall, that game, oh, excuse me, usually happens in Bloomington right around the end of every January. And I'm sure Caleb would never do this, but when my wife and I were dating many, many years ago, instead of coming home for her birthday is the 31st, I said, well, I can't because I've got like front row at IU Purdue. And it turned out that wasn't necessarily the best decision. Um, but it was important to me. So, anyway, way to go. That's so cool, Julia. Very nice. All right, let's see. We're getting the rest of our folks here. We'll go ahead and get going here in a minute. Let's see. We've got Madeline, Sophia, Megan, Lucy, Kate, Aaron, Eleanor, Caroline, Caleb, Becca. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Um, you know, th this is an interesting week. Um, when it was a little bit warmer, well, even toward the end of December, I was like, man, there is no way we're going to get out of this winter without some level of wintry weather. And so, of course, that's where we are right now. But hopefully, everyone is warm and safe. Um, all right. I want to share my screen and just sort of give us the lay of the land for today. All right. Yeah. So, if you can see my screen, Ellie's coming in. So we did lecture on Monday. I I neglected to post the recording, but I will do that here shortly, both from Monday as well as I'm recording this today as well. Hopefully, you guys have been reading Exploit the Product Life Cycle because we're going to be talking about it today. And we're also going to make sure that we have both of Levitt's articles baked into our first topical paper on that's due on Sunday. So um, we're going to talk today about some of the feedback from the first group project. I've got some sort of overall feedback I want to share with you, and then kind of dialogue about that. And then for Friday, um, what you're going to do is you're going to take what you submitted from Project One and feedback that I'm going to share both as a group and then individually. And then by the end of day on Friday, each group will send an email to Jennifer McCord with your first project deliverable. Okay. Any questions about that so far? All right. I'm going to assume that is zero questions. I want to share this with you all before we dive into the research material. I've been doing quite a bit of reflecting over the last couple of months to try to make sure I do a good job of really understanding your world as a generation, and then obviously you uh, as individuals. And I wanted to share with you a couple of books that one I read, this one on the right, From Strength to Strength, I read over Christmas break. And then this one on the left, I am reading right now. And the reason why I bring this up is that I'm trying to make sure I do a good job of bridging, sort of my world with your world. And one of the things that's really interesting for me to understand your all's world is this book called The Anxious Generation, and it just gives me um, a good understanding of the world that you grew up in, how different it is from the world I grew up in, and how I can do a good job of understanding your world. This is kind of what we do in market research, right? And then be embedded in your world so that when I'm working with you on feedback individually as a group, that I'm doing a good job of listening to you and making sure that I'm communicating in a way that is effective for what you all need. So I just kind of wanted to be transparent about that. But one of the outgrowths of that is as I work through the material in the anxious generation, there's some great charts. You guys probably know I'm a chart nerd. So there's some great charts around some of the elements and factors that drove or were certainly a part of your generation growing up. This chart basically says, um, you know, technology, 100 years ago, the sort of the state of the art in communication, excuse me, was radio. And on the y-axis, it's percentage of U.S. households. The x-axis is time. And so what's interesting is this first communication, well, at least in the 20th century, I suppose in the 19th century, you could go back to the telegraph. But in the 20th century, radio. And you can see it took a long time for the radio technology to become sort of mainstream and adopted by most, if not all, households. It looks like somewhere around, 20 years kind of thing. But your world, oh, by the way, I wasn't born in 1925. I was born right around, well, 1966. So the color TV, I remember as a very young child that was a big thing. Um, but in your world, you can see that there isn't really a technology, slow on-ramp. It's just kind of, you know, you go to sleep on a Monday and there's no smartphone or social media, and then you wake up on a Tuesday and everybody's got it. And, the book Anxious Generation talks about a lot of the good things about that, and then some of the maybe not so good things. And so, one of the things that he talks a lot about is obviously in the name of the title is um, uh, the anxious generation. So, I wanted to sort of lay out that this is sort of my teaching philosophy and then tying it to scripture. And just wanted to share this with you. So, number one, if you're in my class or probably in any other class, being confused maybe doesn't feel great, but that's pretty normal. Okay. And so in this class, if you're not sure necessarily what's going on, it could be a sign of learning on your part. It also could be, hey, Dr. Ross, I'm not really getting what you're saying, so please restate that. And some of you guys are actually really, really good at asserting that, and I appreciate it. Number two, reasoning matters more than being right. So, what that is about for me is I'm really looking at um, your thought processes, and whether you come to a correct conclusion or not. I'm really more focused on the process. And so just know that's sort of where I'm coming from that standpoint. Um, Number three, calm is a strength. This is just sort of saying we all, whether you're 20 or whether you're 60, we're all dealing with some level of uncertainty or ambiguity. And so it's important for all of us to, when we feel, we're unsure of what's going on, to try to calm ourselves down. Now, we have the benefit of the Holy Spirit, those of us that have accepted Christ in our hearts. Um, and so he's certainly a help with that. Number four, um, effort is expected, but I don't expect perfection. We're all imperfect, but what we always expect, I expect of you and you expect of me, is a level of effort that acknowledges that we have responsibilities to one another. And so just wanted to call that out. And then finally, really, my classroom and hopefully all classrooms are really a place to be sort of a practice space for adulthood. And I used this example yesterday in my international marketing class. But when I was a kid, I loved to go to the circus, if it was Barnum and Bailey or whatever circus it was. And I was, of course, fascinated by a lot, of course, the elephants and all the camels and animals and stuff. But then the the performers on the trapeze, and they were 60, 80, 100 feet up in the air, and that was terrifying, but it was also fascinating. But when they were learning, right, they didn't necessarily wake up and say, hey, I'm going to be really good on the trapeze. They practiced with the safety net. And that always made an impression on me because it gave them, at least from my standpoint, the permission and the encouragement to say, you know what, I'm going to try this. I may not grab the trapeze handle and I might fall down, but I know I've got a safety net that's going to catch me. And so that really is sort of my intention with every class that I teach is that it's really a safe space. It's a low risk environment. It's an opportunity for you all before you graduate and get out in the quote real world to practice decision making. How do I communicate? It's okay to disagree. Just, do it from a sense of trying to come to a good answer, not, hey, I'm right and you're wrong, which is a skill, I would say. You wouldn't, that's something that we all have to work on. And then being accountable. So, with that, I'll get off my little soapbox there, but I wanted to lay that out for you all so you kind of knew that about me, and hopefully that is helpful. All right, let's talk about the project one. All right, and this is general feedback. I appreciate that every group submitted an assignment, and I appreciate that. And I think they were all turned in on time. A couple of, yeah, or not a couple, several things that I wanted to highlight. If you look in the instructions, for group project one, the assignment is a 1 to 2 page written report. I did see some submissions that were, they were numbers and, it was like number one, hypotheses or what have you. I love that, but it's not really the way that our clients want to be communicated to. They are looking, as we talked about before, a narrative. And so, if your group submitted an assignment that was more of a list rather than a written report, um, I would ask, excuse me, ask you to reformat your assignment into that written report format. So, um, the objective is that you're going to send this assignment to Jennifer McCord, and you want her to be able to take it in as an executive, and it's in a narrative form rather than just, a list of 1 through 6 kinds of things. Okay. Um, some of the groups I thought did a really good job of providing background context. Um, and you might say, well, why is context important? Well, um, really two main reasons. Number one, it communicates to the client that you understand, or at least it's an attempt to say, I understand what your situation is. And that's important. If you're the client, you want to feel like, wow, this person actually listened to me and they understand sort of the challenges that I have, and they understand the opportunities that I have. And therefore, I can begin to trust them because I feel like they are seeing the world from my kind of from where I sit. The second reason why context is important is for proper interpretation. Okay. So once we collect data and then we interpret it in a way that is reflective of the fact that we understand, again, where the client sits in their world and their organization. And so, as you communicate what you found and what your recommendations would be, those recommendations would make sense to them based upon what they will need to do in order to follow your recommendations. I want to pause there. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Nice. All right. Thank you for that confirmation. Another thing in hypothesis development, I noticed some groups did a really good job of articulating the hypotheses. And that was really great. Hey, here's the null hypothesis, the alternative. My little statistical geeks inside of me was super happy when I saw that. But one of the things back to context is uh, it's important for everyone to consider for each of the hypotheses if the hypothesis is confirmed as true or not confirmed, and therefore not true, at least based upon the evidence, it's important for you to be thinking about if that hypothesis is not true, then what are sort of the first things that you would recommend that Jennifer do? And then are there any downstream effects from that? Let me give you an example. So some of you, others, great, had a hypothesis that said if you came to Summit, you're more likely than not to matriculate and enroll at Asbury. But what I'm wondering is, if that's not true, what might Jennifer need to do? Maybe she says, you know what? It's really cool and I have fun and it's summertime, but we might have to stop doing that. And if that happens, then what happens to the young men and women who ordinarily would attend it if they said, "Oh my gosh, Asbury's not doing Summit anymore. What's up with that?" Right? So again, it's just thinking about not only what are the hypotheses, but what are the downstream effects if those hypotheses are confirmed as true or not confirmed. So, not saying you guys did a bad job on that. I'm just trying to kind of tease that out as something that's really important. Number three, the quality of the evidence and support. So, the what I reviewed from each of the groups, whether it was in narrative form or not, was that you referenced here's a hypothesis, the null hypothesis, and then the alternative. But I didn't see um, consistently where every group had identified what the statistical test would be in order to confirm or dispute those hypotheses. Some of you, I thought, did a really good job of saying, here are the independent variables, here's a dependent variable, and I applaud that. I would say just sort of from the outset, and I'm not sure that necessarily you all would know this, um, uh, but the dependent variable in this case is they came to Asbury. Okay, so we can say, okay, that's my dependent variable. They came to Asbury. And all of those other variables would be independents that we're examining what are the relationships, if anything. Um, oh, Ellie, great chat. I will give you that in a moment. That is awesome. Ellie said, could you give an example of statistical test? Yes, ma'am. I will do that. Thank you for chatting that. Um, so, one thing I have asked Jennifer for, and I need to follow up on that. I'll do that this by the end of the week. Is I asked her for data associated with students who we reached out to, but they did not come to Asbury. Um, and the objective is to be able to compare, if you came to Asbury, what seemed to be most influential? If you didn't come to Asbury, what seemed to be the most influential and maybe leading you away, or it wasn't persuasive enough to come? Okay. Um, so I'm going to follow up with Jennifer so we can sort of look at that, sort of the test and control on that. Ellie, wonderful, lovely question. All right. So, a couple of things I would look for in a test, and I think this would be great for you all to go back, excuse me, and put these tests or consider, well, I would say put these tests in your assignment. One that you could do very easily would be correlation analysis. If you don't know how to do that, I would be happy to uh, do a recording. Actually, maybe that's what I'll do. Well, that is what I'll do. So, Ellie, I will um, record an example of how uh, to conduct a correlation analysis, and I'll post that in Discovery so you guys can see how to do that in Microsoft Excel. So that would be one.
Would you want
Another.
us to actually carry out like a correlation analysis or whatever statistical test, or just kind of like describe how we would do it?
I would say you are going to do a correlation analysis Um, I think it's actually in 2 weeks. But for the moment, I would just describe the fact that you're going to do that test. Okay. Great question, Julia. Um, the Now for the correlation analysis test, those of you that had me for business analytics, you'll recall, hopefully, that if two variables are highly correlated in a positive way, then the correlation coefficient will be close to a +1. Okay. So correlation coefficients are measured between -1 and 1. And so if two or more variables are highly correlated in a positive way, then the correlation coefficients between those variables will be close to a +1. On the other hand, if two variables are highly negatively correlated, then the correlation coefficient will be close to a -1. Okay. Again, I'll record that. I'll put it in Discovery so you guys can reference that. Okay. Another test that is a little bit more sophisticated is a multivariate regression analysis. And so, those of you that had me for business analytics, again, hopefully this is a little bit of a refresher that when we look at the independent variables, when we get the output from uh, Microsoft Excel, the output table will tell us whether a particular independent variable is significant or not. And again, in the recording, I'll show you how that works. Okay. Um, so those would be really the tests. Number one, for correlation analysis, you can generate a correlation matrix and you can look at the correlation coefficients, and that will help you. Well, that will tell you whether or not there is a significant statistical relationship. Similarly, with regression analysis, when you look at the output table, the result of the output table will show you there's a column called p-value or probability value. And that p-value will tell you whether an independent variable is significant or not. So I know that was a lot. Um, and thank you, Julia, for clarifying as well as Ellie. So I will record um, a little session on correlation analysis um, as regression analysis, and I'll post that in Discovery this morning. Any other questions on that? That was awesome. All right. Teamwork and collaboration. So in the group project rubric, one of the evaluation criteria is teamwork and collaboration. Um, so I want to just throw it out to the class. So first of all, how did your teams break up the work effort? Anybody want to share how you all broke up the work?
Our team kind of went ahead and went over the hypothesis questions that we wanted to ask. And then from there, we broke up to the different instructions and kind of assigned tasks that way. And then all together met over what we had put to make sure that it flowed smoothly.
Okay. All right. Great. Anybody else have want to share their experience of how their group divided up the work? Okay. All right. Well, good. So, just so you know, when I'm evaluating the assignments, I'm sort of trusting that you all are indeed working together. Remember our first class, we learned a new word. Anybody remember what our new word was? It sounds like it's going to be a bad word, but it's actually not a bad word. Remember that, Ellie? I think we learned a new word. Do you remember what that word was?
Yes, it's slipping my mind. It's slipping my mind right now, but I remember it was like,
Its first three letters sound like a
oh, I
bad
know the
word.
first three letters. That's the problem. I don't know the rest.
I figured everybody did. Yeah. Yeah. The last two are R and K. Shirking, right? What we don't want to do, and there's always a temptation in a group assignment to say, well, good old Ellie, she's great, and I'm sure she'll do a good job. I'm going to go back and to my dorm and watch the rest of the ball game, right? Well, that's not a good answer, right? So we don't want to be shirking in this class, okay? Um, By the way, on the collaboration and teamwork, I think I mentioned it the first week, but um, it is incumbent upon you all, if you feel like someone in your group, I know nobody wants to be a tattletale, but let me know if you don't even have to say the name. If you feel like not everyone's pulling their weight, let me know so I can start to monitor that. Okay. I don't want to be the non-shirking Nazi, but I can be if I need to be. Okay. Um, the last couple of notes here, um, based upon the feedback, if you feel like, yeah, I might want to tweak a couple of things and then resubmit by the end of day on Friday, feel free to do that. That would be great. Otherwise, I'll kind of grade them in a final manner on Friday. Um, and then one of the groups, and this is more of a Dr. Ross problem than a you all problem. I have got something really funky going on with Adobe Acrobat. And every time I try to open up a PDF, it says I'm unsubscribed and it shuts down. So I need to go fix that with IT, but you know how that is. So um, if you submitted your assignment, if you would please resubmit your group assignment in Microsoft Word, that would really help out me. That would be awesome. Any questions about the feedback that we talked about? All right. All right, so let's switch gears in our last 20 minutes or 17 minutes and look at, see, you can see what I got going on here with my Adobe. Whoop, and there it goes. So not sure exactly what's going on there. In fact, you can see what I have to do, which is weird. Is I have to right click and then I open it with a browser. I'll use Chrome. Again, it's just one more step and it's a little annoying, but okay. So, Caleb, are you there, sir? I see your name, Caleb. You might, if you're talking, you're on mute. Well, he may not. I see his name, but I don't. He may not be in front of his PC right now. I don't know. Sophia, how are you, young lady?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Are you staying warm?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good, good. I was hoping you weren't like, by a campfire or a wood stove trying to stay warm. So that's good. Um, Sophia, if you would, let me ask you first of all, so is this an article that you had read before?
I have like 3 pages left, but for the most part, yes.
Yeah, okay. So, from your vantage point, what do you think Dr. Levitt is trying to communicate in this paper?
I think that he just wants, he's kind of talking a little bit about the product life cycle and how some die out later in stages and then some try to just like survive the product
Yeah,
life cycle throughout,
yeah,
yeah, the three or four different
yeah,
stages.
yeah. So yeah, that's exactly right. So, can you think, Sophia, of an example of a product that you think, at least in your world, you'd go, oh yeah, that's kind of, that one thing, it used to be big and now you don't see it anymore. Can you think of
Um,
an example?
maybe like I don't know. I feel like the Build-A-Bear used to be really big, but now it's not so much anymore.
Build-A-Bear.
Yeah.
I remember that vaguely. I don't, what was it like? They ship you arms and legs and a head and you have to like snap it together. Is that what
No, you
it
you
was?
went in and you got to like make the bear. So you got to like pick it out and like fill it up with like um the stuffing stuff. But yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah, clearly I missed that one. I mean, I know it was a thing, but um, yeah. Help out, Sophia. Is there another product or service that you guys know of that you feel like sort of went through these stages?
I think we've talked about this before in previous classes, but the first example I think of is Redbox.
Okay. Yeah. So how so?
Well, when I was a kid, I remember like on occasions like going to some store and there was like a red box outside. And you would buy or rent a movie and then like now it's not a thing anymore. You can just all do streaming services like Netflix and stuff. So they really declined and just they didn't try to stay in the market and try to innovate as we've talked about. And so they declined and went out of business.
Yeah, yeah. So Redbox, I mean, remind me if I don't get this right, but I think it was like I saw it like McDonald's and then at Walmart where you could select a movie. I guess it was a DVD, and you would uh, put in money. Maybe it was cash or coins or credit card. Then you would get the DVD, and then you'd have to return it back to that same location within a certain period of time.
Yeah, that's how I remember it being.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's excellent, Aaron. So um let's imagine that we were working with the executive team at Redbox, okay, in their heyday. Let's say maybe um, when we say their heyday, like stage two or stage three. What do you think we as researchers could or should have asked the executive team to give them a reason to pause and say, you know, things are good, but I'm not sure they're always going to be this good. What do you think we could ask them? I'll throw it out to the group. What do you think, Julia? What do you think we should have been asking the leadership team?
I think one thing, just kind of like the current technological trajectory of things, not that they
Yeah.
would have been able to necessarily uh, predict like the eventual um, decline of DVDs, but I think things like services like Netflix, which at first was a direct rival to Redbox, I think once once they switched over to like streaming. I think that's one thing that Redbox could have maybe asked, like, is this something that is streaming something that consumers would want more? And do they actually, like, how much do they care about DVDs? And so perhaps they could have even like, I don't know if they could conduct surveys or ask um, like general consumers, like if you had an option to digitally rent a movie versus a DVD, would that be something that you'd be interested in?
That was excellent. Thank you. Um, yeah, so let's think about this. And actually, as you were talking, Julia, it occurred to me that there were some aspects of Redbox, or we could say Blockbuster as well, that I hadn't really thought about in this way. Do you think that Redbox had sort of a brand awareness? Do you feel like there were people in the world that said, "Oh yeah, I know Redbox"? Do you feel like that would have been something that at least, maybe a significant minority percentage, let's say in the US, they would raise their hand. They go, "Oh yeah, I know what they are." Do you think so? So what I love about your question, Julia, is that Redbox had the opportunity to basically lead their constituency, lead them from a physical rental to a streaming rental. And I mean, how many streaming services are there? Holy cow. I can't even count all of them, right? So they had the opportunity to say, let's say maybe they had 1 million people that on a regular basis used Redbox. They could have said, hey, you're really important to us, and we recognize that hopefully we've earned your trust over the years. And we would, if you allow us, give us the opportunity to deliver this content, movies and so on, in a different mode, in a different format. And in fact, we'll like show you how to do it, right? I know you guys like grew up with streaming, but old geezers like me, it was like, okay, what am I doing? I'm clicking on something, right? I think that is a beautiful question that you asked, Julia, because it says it is an opportunity for Redbox to anticipate this product life cycle that, this may not be great forever. And so how can we leverage the trust that we have with our core franchise and help them transition or migrate to another platform? So great job. Anybody else? Relative to Redbox, what would be some other good questions that we could ask them?
Um, I
Yeah, go ahead,
think
Val.
I think a good question to ask would have been um, at the decline stage or even at maturity stage, looking forward, how could have they creatively destroy their product to use the capital for something more relative, and something that is not dying out?
Oh man, I'll tell you what, both you and Julia, my heart is doing cartwheels right now. Okay. You used an amazing phrase, Val. Creative destruction. Where did that phrase come from? Who sort of coined that phrase?
I honestly don't. Is it Levitt?
No, but there's other people in this class that might remember from last semester, like Becca or Aaron, maybe.
Was it
Creative
Christensen?
destruction. Who was our buddy that coined that?
Was it Christensen?
No, but boy, that was good. He's got a really funky name. It's like, man, that's a weird name.
Was it Shumter?
Schumpeter, yes. Who said that?
I did.
Okay, who's I?
Aaron.
Oh, Aaron. Okay, I wasn't toggled over your name. Excellent. He's got a funky name, but yes, so Schumpeter coined the phrase, of course, in German, creative destruction. And so, yeah, Val, that was great, right? So maybe, in building on what we were talking about a minute ago, using your idea, Val. Not only could Redbox have posed the question, hey, it may not be this good forever, and we have this trust associated with our franchise. Could we transition our customer franchise to another platform and be able to say, hey, we're transitioning to streaming, but guess what? There's already streaming out there. We're going to basically, uh, cannibalize the DVD physical rental, and we're going to program, and we're going to reinvest that money into having the best streaming service, bar none. That would be amazing, right? All of a sudden, you know, they're sort of metaphorically, Redbox metaphorically is looking down on Prime, Netflix. Prime and Netflix is going, man, I wish we were as good as Redbox. How did they do that? Right? So, excellent. Those are really, really excellent questions. Any other questions related to exploit the product life cycle? All right, so I'm gonna switch over to just summarize a bit. So, if you want to resubmit your group assignment, be my guest. I'll as long as those are resubmitted by the end of day on Friday, I'll grade them as if they were not submitted yet at all, or they're brand new submissions. Okay. Um, at the end of day on Friday, each group needs to email your deliverable to Jennifer McCord. You can see her email here, and then copy me on that. Okay. Um, she knows this is coming, but I'll give her a quick reminder so that she can be on the lookout for that. Um, actually, let me amend this. I'm sorry. Um, send it to the uh, Becca or Ellie. What is it? Is it strategic dot communications at asbury.edu?
Yes.
Okay. Well, don't send it to Jennifer. I'm sorry. Send it to that email address, strategic.communications at asbury.edu. Jennifer knows that um, emails that come to that email and then put marketing 441 in the subject, marketing 441 question or submission, that will rise to the top of her list and she'll be able to review it. Okay. Secondly, topical paper one is due on Sunday night. Remember to use your resources, right? So use lectures, use both of the HBR articles that you've read. You're welcome to use the first group project. Um, but the idea is to take all of those resources and write your paper. Here are the instructions in Discovery. I think I have a couple of prompts, and you can select one. I've got prompt one, prompt two, prompt three. Okay. So be a little bit of a busy next couple of days. Any questions that you all have for me? All right. If nothing else, oh, Ellie, go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Do you think there's any chance that you could upload your Microsoft Doc of what we should edit for our resubmission so that we can make sure that we hit all the things that you suggested?
Perfect question. Absolutely. Happy to do it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Great question. Anybody else? All right. Well, you all have a blessed day. Stay warm, and hopefully I'll see you in person on Friday. Okay. Have a good day. Thanks, y'all.
Have a good day.
Thank you.